Basham. Fox. Little.
A couple of weeks later, and it was Australia. By this stage, I felt comfortable back at test level with both my fitness and speed.
Graham Basham to Fitzpatrick. That's the 22. Now will they spin it wide? Fox. Innes. Kirwan. Big JK in. Straight sprint. And he left Campese behind.
In the second test, I didn't score any tries, but I helped others across the line, which for me can be just as satisfying.
You see the tackle there was number 7, Brendan Nasser. That's the job the Aussies want. But here's Kirwan with the ball. Slipping Nick Barr-Jones. John Kirwan rolling inside. And the try is scored by Sean Fitzpatrick.
To Kirwan. Kirwan. To Basham. Graham Basham scores the try, which keeps the Bledisloe Cup in New Zealand for another season. Lovely work here. It passed straight out to John Kirwan, and the strength of Kirwan able to hold those players off. Little backflip, and Basham underneath he goes, crashes over, and the All Blacks win the game with that try.
Yes, a lovely run here by Kirwan. He pushes off Campese and keeps everybody occupied, but flicks it behind him to Basham. And Basham stretches out one hand, then cradles it with his other hand when he gets it across the line.
It was the same situation in France at the end of the year. I was under a lot of pressure on this tour. Some people were saying my international days were over, and I was keen to prove them wrong.
What a brilliant try. Now Basham, Fox, Kirwan on the inside. Kirwan through. Kirwan must score. Oh, Jones gets the try. Beautiful try. Brilliant try. Created by Kirwan. Finished by Michael Jones.
This day at Limerick, during the '89 tour, sort of sums up touring pretty well. The idea was for a short stop, but we were having such a good time, we stayed for hours. An All Black tour is all about playing good rugby and having fun. It doesn't always happen, but when it does, it makes everything worthwhile. You'll never know how much I love you. Please don't take my sunshine away.
It's Ron Williams reporting from Herman Munster Club in Young Munster. Thank you. Over and out.
Now Eaty again, up to Fox, missing McCahill this time.
The longer I've played rugby, the more heavily I've been marked, which can be a bit of a pain for me, but can help the team, as it creates space for those on the outside. With the introduction of Terry Wright in the Auckland and All Blacks at fullback, I was often used to commit the tacklers while TJ used his pace on the overlap.
Auckland's reply is quick and decisive. Here's Fox. Tipped on by Kirwan. Terry Wright. Auckland in already.
But one of the tries I really enjoyed was this one against Australia in '87 from a great piece of play from Warwick Taylor.
Here's a chance. Kirwan. Fine try.
Good work from the forwards, the build-up with the good body position from Michael Jones. Watch the way when the ball comes along the chain, the skip around. There's the skip to Jones. He waited, and then it was almost a dummy, but good backing up from Taylor. Kirwan outside him, 2-on-1 situation. Burks dives, and John Kirwan should have come round further towards the post. Here it comes, the little skip round, and there, the backing up. That's the important thing. Warwick Taylor, one of the best backers up in the game, and the pass to Kirwan, but look, he should have tried to get closer to the post.
Now Adam, away to Fox.
I've already talked about '87 being a good year. Well, it wasn't just the All Blacks. This game against Canterbury was also one I enjoyed.
John Kirwan the try.
And if I had to pick one try to be my favourite, it would have to be this one in front of my friends in the Lancaster Park crowd.
To disrupt, like this. Harris a good catch, but he got 3 red and blacks. Fox, Good breakout. Kirwan. Leota. Simpson beaten. Kirwan. Oh, Kirwan! Oh, one of the great tries for Auckland.
In the team session afterwards, the team stood up and applauded that try. And that, for me, was probably one of the highlights and one of the greatest compliments I've ever had.
Side from John Kirwan. It came when Canterbury were attacking in Auckland's half, but suddenly Grant Fox broke clear. He sent it out on the right. It came along to Kirwan, and back on his own side of halfway, he went through the Canterbury tacklers. Leota didn't want to know, neither did Robbie Deans. And even at the 22, there were 3 or 4 Canterbury men in the picture, but Kirwan went through them all to score brilliantly in the right wing corner.
I love playing for Auckland. It's an honour. And I've been fortunate to have been part of a great Auckland family over the years. And if there's one Auckland performance I remember, it's the first 40 minutes against Otago in 1990. In the first half we just clicked, and without wanting to sound too arrogant, I don't think anyone could have matched us in that 40 minutes. But while we've played some great rugby in the first half, in the second half we went to sleep. The game was won, and we were lacking that killer instinct. It's a problem with Auckland in the last couple of years, and probably moved into the All Blacks at the same time. A lack of urgency. But I don't want to sound too negative. It's been a privilege to have been part of one of the greatest eras in New Zealand provincial rugby. And there have been plenty of great memories, like the day at Lancaster Park in 1985.
He's got the strength, Joe Stanley. Inside is 22, Simpson. Has right on, could get into trouble. Now there aren't too many Canterbury players there. Murray Davey took it out. Kirk, Fox, Kirwan, John Kirwan. Number 3 for Auckland.
Thank you. Good. Well done. Good stuff.
After this game, both teams could feel that they had played well and contributed to a great rugby day. Of course, we enjoyed it a bit more because we had won. But if there was such a thing as a good way to lose the Shield, Canterbury had just done it.
We had it, we nearly lost it, and we got it back again.
You don't like losing, no one likes losing. But I think at least we can say we lost in style today. The team played pretty well.
Bill Osborne.
And since that day at Lancaster Park, there have been plenty more good times in the blue and white.
John Mitchell. And the ball pops into the arms of Kirwan. Away goes Kirwan. Bow was giving chase. Across comes Hodder. Oh, no problems for John Kirwan. David Kirk to feed this scrum, 10 metres from the Bay of 29. Auckland looking for their third try in the second spell. They've scored 6 already in the match. Stanley again just getting the ball to Kirwan as quick as possible. And look at this, the great footwork from John Kirwan. Itty again running wide on the blind. Kirwan. That's the move that pulled against Volcano, I think, isn't it? Alan Witt. Exactly. And Itty gets his second try.
"1991 started all right, the trials were good, and my kicking game was happening."
Here's a little kick and chase from John Kirwan. Came a little bit of Kirwan magic. Oh yes, what a very good try indeed.
And from there, it was on to Argentina, where the cracks started to show, and personally I didn't enjoy the tour. Not on the field, but off the field. The tour was too long and demanding when we were supposedly trying to prepare for the World Cup. As it was, we let Argentina get too close in the first test when we should have done a lot better.
Go bench, put it in. Finish it off, TJ. Atta boy. Yeah, good try.
Well, you say that, and there's no doubt about it, there was a lot of mistakes, and we realised that there were. But then again, as some of the players here have said, when they played here before, it's one of the highest wins that the All Black sides had here. They've always been hard, and we knew that.
We lifted our game for the second test, but by this time on the tour, all we really wanted to do was get home. One good thing about the second test was I achieved a couple of aims. One was scoring in every match on tour, and the other was linked to a training exercise called unders and overs. It was my ambition to do this in a test match, and an ambition I fulfilled. I had to find some enjoyment somehow. The next part of the build-up was against the Aussies. We let ourselves down in the first test, but held on to win in the second. I felt we were back on track, but in hindsight I wasn't being very realistic and wasn't alone. We should have looked a bit closer at our performance in that series and been a little bit more critical. In the first game of the World Cup, we should have cleaned up England. We had total control in the second half, but this is the only try we scored. We almost let England think they were as good as they thought they were. We got to the semi-final without too much trouble, but we hadn't really reached the heights we were looking for before taking on the Australians. Still, they hadn't played that well either, so we arrived at Lansdowne Road believing we had a chance. But it didn't take long for the Australians to remind us what urgency and killer instinct was. In the second half I got more ball than I'd had for years, but while I managed to get through Little and Edgerton, the Australian cover defence wasn't going to let this game slip. We threw everything we had at them. It just wasn't enough. In hindsight, there are a number of reasons why, but perhaps they all led to one thing: unhappiness.